Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration Podcast, where we talk about our favourite movies, TV shows and video games. As always, I'm your host Sravan. We have our co-host Tarun here with us in Hobart.
Hey everyone.
So, this week, we're going to be talking about a couple of things, but mainly about the Netflix show Umbrella Academy, which I actually haven't seen, but I watched a YouTube video which explained the whole story to me, so I kind of know it. But Tarun has actually watched it, so he'll be talking about that. And then later on in the episode, in the lead up to Captain Marvel coming out next week, I'm going to talk about a movie that's strangely quite related to Captain Marvel. It's not really. When you hear what movie it is, you'll be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So we'll talk about that afterwards. And then we also had a couple of trailers that came out this week, so we can talk about those. Detective Pikachu and Dark Phoenix. But before we start on anything, I thought it'd be good to have a Who Am I of comic books before we start every episode. So this is going to be our first one. So what we'll do is I'll explain I'll say who it is in terms of I'll give you all the clues, and then at the end of the episode,
you'll say the name.
I'll say the name, and you have to and then you have to guess the clues. No,
okay,
I'll give you the clues, and then
it's a really easy quiz.
I'll give you the clues, and then at the end of the episode, I'll reveal who the person is. So you'll have the episode to think about it. You might get it straight away in some cases.
Is it for me to guess or for the viewers to guess?
You can also guess it, but you can't say it straight away.
Okay.
Got to wait till the end of the episode. Okay, so who am I? I'm a direct descendant of Genghis Khan and was born to a wealthy father who lost everything in a communist revolution. After finding the key to my powers in a crashed alien starship, I made plans to seize the world, only to clash often with my arch nemesis, who's a key member of the Avengers. I developed teleportation technology that I used to get myself out of trouble. I teamed up with various villains, including Enchantress, Executioner, and Living Laser. My first appearance in comics was in 1964.
I think I know who it is.
You think you know? Okay. Well, I've got an extra clue a bonus clue if you want it. This character is 6 feet and 2 inches tall and 215 pounds in weight.
Bit of a heavy boy. Let's go to the gym.
All right, so we'll revisit that at the end of the episode, but if you already know what the answer is, just keep that in mind. So, Umbrella Academy, Netflix show, which you have seen, came out on the 15th of February. And it's an adaptation of a comic book series of the same name, and it's created by Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba, and it's published by Dark Horse Comics. So Gerard Way, apparently he's a...
My Chemical Romance?
Yeah, so he's one of the vocalists, I think. Interesting, obviously very talented if he can sing and write comics.
Yeah.
So what is the... We'll jump straight into the review. So what is the story, non-spoiler?
Non-spoiler story. Okay, if you've seen the trailer, you probably know what it is, but there's all these women that give birth on the same day and they weren't pregnant.
Yeah, so the 1st of October 1989.
Okay, I didn't know the date, but...
43 women.
And then this rich billionaire buys 7 of the kids, and it turns out they have superpowers. And... it flicks between the past and the present, when the present is just after the fathers died, and in the past when they're kids, and the father's a bit of a dick.
So it's got a portion of it which is in present day as well as in the while they're growing up.
Most of it's present, and then it flicks back to the past sometimes.
And these women, they were not pregnant. They just in a second they ended up
giving birth. Yeah.
So there's obviously some like supernatural powers or something happening.
Also, that's never explained in this season, so yeah.
Just happens. So they find 7 of the 43.
Yeah, he buys 7 of the 43.
And he trains them up to become the X-Men.
be like a superhero team. But he's not a good father figure.
Yeah, I heard it has vibes of Hill House a little bit as well.
It's not a horror movie, a horror show.
No.
Like how so?
In the sense that it shows them when they're older and then when they're younger. And then some of the characters are also a little bit like the characters in Hill House.
Yeah. That's fair enough, yeah.
Except it's probably not as good as Hill House.
No, I don't think it was as good. I thought it was okay.
It definitely reminds me of X-Men as well.
It's like X-Men, except they're messed up. Like, they're not all, like, good character. Like, even Wolverine is, like, the most messed up X-Men, and he would be normal compared to these guys.
Well, Ellen Page is in it as well, who was in X-Men.
Yes, but not the same character.
She's not Kitty Pryde.
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, before we go into any spoilers, we'll do our review, and then we'll jump into full spoilers. So, what are the positives?
The music is very good. Did you hear that in that video?
No, I didn't.
They talked about the music.
No.
Nah, the music's actually really good. It's kind of like...
Is it from My Chemical?
Nah, they're not all from My Chemical... I don't know if any of them are from My Chemical Romance, but yeah, it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque.
Oh, 80s.
Yeah.
So it's got that 80s nostalgia.
Yeah. Most of it's like older music. I don't think they had any... Oh, they had a couple of new songs, but yeah. All the characters are pretty good, and they're compelling, and there's actually growth with the characters as kind of the season moves on, so... And the story's pretty good. It moves a bit slowly to begin with, but then towards the end of the season it gets better.
And negatives?
The story moves a bit slowly.
Bit slow, okay.
Yeah.
And I heard tonally it's like a bit all over the place.
It can be inconsistent at times. Sometimes it's really serious and sometimes it's a bit more funny. The villain initially is not that compelling. Like at the beginning there's kind of no villain, and then it kind of shows a villain, but then he's not the real villain. So yeah, it's hard because it's kind of like Titans, which we haven't talked about yet, but there's no real villain for the season.
But you prefer Titans over this?
Nah, I probably prefer this.
Okay.
The acting's better in this than Titans.
Oh, fair enough. So there's a total of 10 episodes. This season was kind of reflective of the first volume of the comic, and there's 8 volumes of the comic.
I heard they mixed some other parts into this season, though.
Yeah.
Of the other comics, yeah.
Yeah, but I think their intention is to do quite a few seasons of this.
Yeah, okay.
And there's also scope for a lot of spin-offs and stuff, apparently.
Yeah, there probably is. Also, there's a really good CGI monkey in this.
Did see that. There's the butler or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, it looks like Caesar, but well-dressed.
Yeah, it's surprisingly good for a TV show.
Apparently, the same people that worked on Planet of the Apes worked on him, specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I've seen kind of visuals from other parts of the show that aren't as good.
There's this guy who's kind of got a gorilla body and well, not gorilla body, but he's got this like really big body. It's hairy. It doesn't look that great when they show it. If
that's all in terms of non-spoilers, we'll give our Infinity Stone rating, which we introduced last week.
Yeah.
In the last episode. So the way it works is we go through every Infinity Stone and we rate the show or the movie based on whether it has that stone or not. It sounds confusing, but you'll understand when we actually do it. So, does this have the Soul Stone?
Yes, it does. It has some heart in it, so yeah. It's got lots of brother and sister dynamics and lots of heart, yeah.
So it's got the Soul Stone. Does it have the Power Stone?
Yeah. It's got this guy who's like half gorilla, so yeah. And also his superpower is that he's super strong.
Does it have the Time Stone?
Yeah, so it's got time travel in it.
Okay, it's got time travel. So it's ticked off 3 so far. 3 left. Does it have the Reality Stone?
Look, it's probably one of the more realistic superhero things I've seen, so I reckon it has it.
You reckon it has? Okay, that's sounds like a bit of a question
half.
Mark, but let's see.
I think half.
Okay.
Half. Yeah.
The Mind Stone?
Does it make you think? Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a complex plot point.
You don't need to completely switch off your mind to watch it.
No.
You kind of need to.
You kind of need to be paying attention.
Yes, okay. Does it have the space stone?
This one's interesting, but yes, it does. One of the characters lives on the moon for a period of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you have that you kind of have to have the space stone then.
Yeah.
So overall, it looks like it's got soul, time, power, a bit of reality, a bit of mind, and space.
Yeah, I agree.
So you would give it half of reality and
maybe half of reality full of
mind and half of space?
No, full space. He's in space. Yeah.
All right. So that's 5.5.
Yeah.
5.5 out of 6 Infinity Stones. So that's pretty good.
It ticked nearly all the boxes. It has people with superpowers, so I guess that doesn't really make it that real.
Yeah, I guess any superhero movie would have that drawback. Or superhero TV show or movie. Okay, so we'll jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen Umbrella Academy and you do care about spoilers, please come back to this point in the episode and we'll talk spoilers.
After you've seen it.
After you've seen it.
Yeah, don't come back before you've seen it. Because that, yeah.
Unless you don't care. And you just
unless you don't care. All right, spoilers. So what do you know about it?
Pretty much everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the first episode, they all come together because the dad dies, and they've all got different numbers. So number 1 is the guy who has superpowers. Number 2 is a guy who kind of can throw knives and stuff, and he can control which direction they go in.
So he's like Gambit.
Kind of, yes.
Except Gambit throws playing cards.
Yeah. Number 3 is this girl who
the rumor
says,
girl.
I heard, the rumor girl. So she says, I hear a rumor and whatever, and then whatever she says comes true.
They do what she says?
Yeah, so she could be like, I heard a rumor that you, at one part in the show, you hear her say it, and she says, I heard a rumor that you shot your friend in the foot, and then the guy shoots his friend in the foot.
So she's kind of like that character in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I've seen that movie like one time, and I don't remember.
No, Wolverine's, I think she's
wife
or something, and
like
if she touches someone and says something, they do it.
Yeah, similar. Yeah. Number 4 is Ben. Is it?
He's the one that's dead?
Yeah, I think number 4 is the one that's dead. 5, 6. No, I'm missing some. No, number 4 is Klaus. And he's, is it? Can you look it up for me?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it's... So he's the one that can do telekinesis and...
So at the start, he's a drug addict. So he kind of loses all his powers.
Okay.
So he's like high all the time.
So he's like the Luke of the show.
Kind of, yeah. He's like on heroin and everything. He's really funny, actually. But he's constantly drunk and on heroin. But originally his powers were that he could talk to the dead.
And in the present...
In the present, he can't do anything.
In the present... So all of these people have different professions, right? So Allison is an actress.
Allison's a movie star. The number 2 is like a vigilante. He used to be a police officer, but he's a vigilante now. Number 1 lives on the moon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one with the ape body.
Ape body, yeah. Klaus is a drug addict, homeless. He's either number 4 or number 5. And number 4 or number 5 is Ben as well. And Ben's dead.
Wait, is number 5 the one without a name?
Oh no, you're right. Number 5 is... Okay, I got confused. I think number 4 is Klaus. Number 5 is...
The time-traveling little kid.
The time-traveling, yeah. So there's this... One of the kids time travels when he was younger, and he goes forward in time and sees the apocalypse. And then he comes back in time to kind of save the apocalypse. But he's aged 70 years before he comes back in time. But when he comes back in time, he's still in the kid's body. So he's like a 70-year-old in a 13-year-old kid's body. And his powers are he could teleport and he could time travel. Number 6 is Ben, who died when they were younger. It's unclear how he died. But his powers are like he has like tentacles that come out of his body.
Yeah, so he's like a shape shifter.
Kind of, yeah. And number 7 is Ellen Page, and she doesn't have any powers. And she plays the violin.
Maybe she's just really good at playing violin. That's her powers.
Yeah. She plays the violin, yeah.
But as you find out later in the season, she's basically Dark Phoenix.
It's very, as you said, it's very Dark Phoenix-y. Yeah.
They're basically suppressing her powers. So what actually are her powers?
So she's got like, it's kind of like telekinesis-ish. She can do everything. She like shoots lasers. She has like force fields, and she like bend cars and stuff, and like pick up things with her mind. She does a bit of everything.
Basically Jean Grey.
Yeah, basically. But the overall story of it is, in the first episode, there's like kind of 2 plot points that start off. One, the first plot point is number 1 thinks someone killed the dad, and he wants to find out who killed the dad. And then number 5 comes back from the future, and says there's an apocalypse, and he wants to kind of stop the apocalypse, which is happening in 8 days.
So he wants the Avengers to assemble.
Not really. He's kind of a dick, and he doesn't want any of their help.
Oh, okay. Then why does he tell them?
He doesn't trust them. He doesn't tell them. He doesn't tell them until way later. But he comes back in time to try and stop the apocalypse, but he doesn't tell them until like episode 7 or something.
That's a bit late.
Yeah. He's a bit of a dick.
But he can time travel, so you could just go back and tell them earlier.
Yes, except he's kind of crazy as well. Like, the time travel's ruined his mind, and he's a bit crazy. He's like in love with this, do you know, yeah, he's in love with this mannequin that he calls, Dolores, I think.
Yeah, in the future. Oh, is it in the future?
Yeah, in the future, he meets this mannequin, and yeah, for like 50 years, that's the only person he talks to. So yeah, they're the 2 overarching story points. Later in the season, you find out that the father killed himself to bring them all together to stop the apocalypse. So somehow the dad knew that the apocalypse was going to happen. Not sure how, why, or how yet. Also, you find out that, like, number 1 is the one that always is loyal to the father. And he keeps thinking that the apocalypse has something to do with being on the moon, because his dad sent him to the moon. But in the end, you find out that his dad just sent him to the moon to send him to the moon. There's no reason for it.
So he just lived on the moon for no reason.
For 3 years.
Okay. What was he doing?
He was collecting soil samples.
That's a lot of samples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find out that the dad never opened the samples that he sent back.
So how does he get the ape body?
So he has like a training, he's doing his superhero things, and he gets thrown in like a nuclear vat or something, and his body's getting destroyed, and then they inject Pogo's blood into him.
So he gets that from the ape butler. And Ellen Page's character, she's basically writing a book or something, or wrote a book about them.
So she wrote a book in the past, kind of like the
Steve.
First guy in in Hill House. So she wrote a book about being number 7 and how like all her siblings left her out because she didn't have superpowers.
So she's actually the youngest out of all of them.
No, they're all the same age. They're born on the same day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But
there's like seconds in between them. That's why they have numbers, right?
No, he just numbered them according to how important he thought they were.
Oh no, she does have powers, but he didn't want anyone to know that she had powers.
Yeah, he didn't want anyone to know she had powers. He didn't want her to use it because he trained her he started training her to use her powers, but then he thought she was too powerful. So then he like drugged her up and
told the rumor girl to
say, yeah, that she doesn't have powers. So basically her powers are suppressed, and there's a bit of Incredibles in this because there's this kid when the Umbrella Academy when they were still superheroes back in the day, he was like addicted with the Umbrella Academy, and they used to make comic books about the kids and stuff, and he used to read them, and his father like abused him when he was younger, and he wanted to join the Umbrella Academy because he was born on the same day as them, and he thought he was special, but he wasn't. He was just a normal kid, and the father kicks him out, and then he goes home and he's angry and he kills his dad. And then he goes to jail for 20 years or something. And then he comes out and he wants to kind of get revenge on the Umbrella Academy. So what he does is he meets up with Ellen Page, and he also gets his hands on the father's diary just after he dies, and he finds out that Ellen Page has superpowers, and he tries to kind of manipulate her to use them. And he turns Ellen Page against the rest of the family.
And Ellen Page listens to him because she has no friends.
And then Allison, who's his sister, keeps trying to tell her that this guy's dodgy. But then she kills Allison.
Oh, she kills her.
She nearly kills her. She slits her throat, but then they save her.
Oh, but then she can't.
She can't talk anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. So that guy's like Syndrome. Does he have any powers?
No.
So he's just a guy.
He's just a guy. And he manipulates Ellen Page.
So he's the cause of the apocalypse.
You think so. So actually, at the end, what's his name? Number 5, there's a lot going on in the series. Number 5 works for this company that they travel through time and prevent changes in the timeline.
So they're like what's that movie with Matt Damon?
Oh, the Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah, they're like that.
Yeah. They send him through different points in time, and he's either got to protect or kill someone to maintain the timeline. And to maintain the apocalypse timeline, they have to protect the guy that manipulates Ellen Page. But what you find out is that the person that actually causes the apocalypse is Ellen Page, because she goes crazy after she kills Allison, and she finds out that the guy was manipulating her, and she kills him as well.
Okay.
And she goes to play her violin concert, and she's in this trance where she's just playing violin and wasting people, and they try and stop her. And in the end, Allison shoots a gun next to her head. She doesn't shoot her, but she shoots a gun next to her head to stop her from killing all her siblings. But then Ellen Page does a Superman eye blast into the sky.
Like a laser.
Laser eyes.
Yeah,
laser eyes into the sky. And it hits the moon and destroys the moon. And a massive asteroid comes towards the Earth and causes the apocalypse. So at the end of the show, they don't stop the apocalypse.
So it still happens.
Yeah, it destroys everything. Just before everything gets destroyed, number 5 teleports them all to a undisclosed place, and that's the last scene.
Including Ellen Page?
Yeah, all of them.
Just them, or everyone on Earth?
No, just them. Okay. Just the siblings. Yeah. And also, Klaus gets sober, and you find out he can summon people from the dead to do stuff, and he summons Ben, and he uses Ben's powers to kind of destroy everyone.
Destroy everyone?
Well, not destroy. There's the Adjustment Bureau people come to try and stop them, and he uses these powers. He uses Ben's powers to stop them.
Yeah.
And also, there's this random part in the series where this is what triggers Klaus to get sober, but there's these suitcases that the Adjustment Bureau people use to travel between time, and he accidentally opens one of the suitcases because he thinks there's money in it, and he travels back to World War II, and he fights in World War II with this guy who he falls in love with, and the guy dies, and then he comes back to the present time, and then he wants to become sober so he can talk to that guy in the dead.
Okay. How much of an episode did they devote to that story?
It happens quite quickly. Yeah. But there's a lot happening in this show. Yeah, each character gets their own moment, and I didn't even talk about number 2's storyline and all that. But
so who's number 2?
Number 2's the knife throwing guy.
Oh yeah. So how is he number 2? Because all he can do is throw knives.
He's pretty good at throwing knives.
I would have thought the most important one. Well, the most important one's obviously Ellen. Well, most powerful one is obviously Ellen Page. Maybe it's in reverse order.
Most powerful is Ellen Page. Ben's actually meant to be pretty powerful before he died.
And then the time traveling guy's obviously pretty powerful.
Yep. And Klaus apparently Klaus gets telekinesis in later seasons, so in later episodes.
Yeah. In the comic book, he does have telekinesis.
But yeah, at the moment he doesn't have it in this.
And then the knife throwing guy, and then what does
the strong dude?
What does he have?
He's just strong.
So he's just like the Hulk?
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Except not angry. Or is he angry?
Nah, not really that angry. He's a bit annoying. He's like by the book.
Okay. Yeah. So do you recommend people watch this?
Yeah,
It sounds interesting.
yeah, it's got a lot going on. I probably did do it justice. It's better than it is.
Well, we did give it 5.5 out of 6, so...
Yeah. And I think it's got potential for following seasons.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely do... Well, just based off what we just discussed, I think there's a lot they can explore.
Well, it ends on a cliffhanger, so...
So it'll be interesting, like, next season. So they're in some alternate time.
I don't know where they go. He says he can teleport them somewhere, but he doesn't say where. I think he goes back in time.
So they can go back before they were born as well, right?
Yeah. Number 5 does that.
Yeah, because I heard the number 5 who doesn't have a name for some reason.
Because they all got names after they left. So they all one by one leave the academy because the father's a dick. And then after they leave the academy, they get names, I think.
So they never actually had names when they were growing up?
No. But number 5 teleported to the future before he got a name, so he's just number 5.
But yeah, apparently he has some whole story arc where he's like an assassin or something for like...
Yeah, so for the adjustment period.
So they could potentially explore that as well.
They explore that a little bit in the show. Like, there's like a whole episode dedicated to it.
Yeah, because I don't know, there's some theories that he was behind like JFK's assassination and all that.
Yeah, they show that on the show. But he doesn't, he chickens out of it. He doesn't do it.
Oh, he doesn't do it.
So he's meant to assassinate him, but instead, that's when he teleports back in time.
If I had to describe it just based off what you've said, it's kind of like X-Men. It's definitely got X-Men vibes.
They've got uniforms like X-Men as well.
Except the father's not like Charles Xavier. Not by
He's a bit of a dick, but I think there's some kind of redeeming factor to him, which they will explore in the coming seasons. But I'm not sure what it is yet. Yeah,
and they'll probably explore the other 36 kids that were born on the same day.
Find out why it happened, or like what's actually causing this.
And maybe some of the other kids are still around, like doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Like accounting. They just became accountants.
Plumbers.
They're just really good at plumbing. That was their power.
That's their power.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Umbrella Academy. Hopefully you have seen it if you've listened to all those spoilers just then.
Yeah.
But overall, I guess we recommend it.
Yeah. There's a lot more to the story than I've just said as well. There's like main characters that I didn't even touch on because there's too much to explain. You kind of got to just watch it to really get into it. Okay,
so we'll move on to the next segment that we had planned for today, and that is a movie that is strangely related to Captain Marvel. And I was just randomly browsing through, I think it was Amazon Prime Video or something, and this movie came up and I was like, okay, I was really bored. That's why I watched this movie. And then I started to notice some things about the movie. So it has some actors that are in Marvel movies, so that's the main connection. But it actually has Brie Larson in it, which I'll explain in a second. But the movie is 13 going on 30. So it's that movie with Jennifer Garner, how she's 13 years old, and then...
I like that movie with Zac Efron, but the opposite way.
Yes, it is. So in that one, he gets younger, right?
17 again, yeah. He's Chandler from Friends, and then he's Zac Efron.
So it goes in the reverse order of that. But obviously, Jennifer Garner, she was actually the first female-led Marvel hero in Elektra.
Yeah, which was terrible.
I'm pretty sure that was the first female-led Marvel movie.
Yeah, I think it is. I was going to say Catwoman, but that's DC. I forgot.
Well, I think they came out around the same time. So she's one of the first female-led superhero movie stars. So she's in this movie. She's the main character. So what happens is, I'll probably go straight into spoilers because this movie is like 15 years old. So if you haven't seen it, you can, by all means, go watch it. It's actually not that bad. You'll have a good time. And come back here and listen to our spoilers. So basically she is 13 years old. hence the title 13 going on 30. And she's this unpopular kid at school, and she wants to be part of this clique called the I think it's called Six Chicks or something.
Is this Brie Larson?
No. Well, actually, so there's this group called the Six Chicks, and they're just like this group of 6 girls that are really popular at school, and she wants to be one of them. But then they would make them 7, so the whole point of the name would go out the window, so she can't really be one of them. One of them has to get kicked out. But the head of that, or the main person of the 6 Chicks, is Judy Greer when she grows up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
yep.
she's Ant-Man's ex.
Yep.
But anyway, when they're kids, I think it's her 13th birthday, and she invites all of those girls as well as some of the other popular kids at school. But she really only has one friend who's her next door neighbor. So he's there, and they end up playing this like 7 Minutes in Heaven game or something, where like you go into a closet and you just go into a closet with one other person and you just talk or something, and it's meant to be like 7 minutes of heaven. But she goes first, and she's meant to go in there, and like one of the other popular boys or something is meant to go in there with her, but they all end up just leaving and just leave her in the closet. But before that, what happens is her next door neighbor friend, he makes her this dollhouse which has like magic pixie dust on it or something, and she finds out that no one's there, and she gets angry and cries, and she's like, I wish I was 30 for some reason, because she like reads this magazine called Poise, and in the magazine there was some article about like 30 is the new 20 or something. She's like, yeah, I want to be 30, and then the magic pixie dust falls on her, and she wakes up and she's Jennifer Garner.
Yep, fair enough. Did she go from being 13 to 30, or did she go forward in time?
It's a good question, because at the time I thought she like just became some other person who's 30 at the same time, but she actually goes forward in time, so she's like the older version of herself.
Okay, yeah.
So she's the older version of herself, and she's like, she works for Poise, the magazine that she used to read when she was a kid in the 80s. But she's basically like this workaholic that loves her job, and she's not a very good person, because she basically does everything for personal gains, and she like has no friends, and you find that all out later. But she wakes up in this apartment in New York, and then she's basically, her best friend in the future is the leader of the 6 Chicks when they were kids, so Judy Greer, and they both work together in the same office as well. But her boss is Andy Serkis.
Ulysses Claw.
Yeah, Ulysses Claw, and her best friend's Ant-Man's ex. The only person that she knows from the past that might be there in the future is her next door neighbor friend. Her parents are like, she tries to call her parents, but they're on like some cruise in the Caribbean or something, so she can't reach them.
Okay.
So she has to call her friend. I think her friend's name's Matt or something. So she tries to find him, and she finds him, and he ends up being the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny because the first thing they introduce him, he's wearing green pants as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. So her friend's Mark Ruffalo, but it ends up that what happened that day is she like basically got really angry, and she smashed the dollhouse. And like they never met again. Like they weren't friends for like the rest of their life. And Jennifer Garner became one of the 6 Chicks, and she became like this really popular girl throughout high school. And they basically weren't even friends for like 20 years. And then, so that's why like Mark Ruffalo's like, well, yeah, what are you doing here? We don't even know each other.
Yeah.
The magazine that she works for, it's like not doing very well. So she's given a project to like make it better. And her and Judy Greer are meant to work together, but Judy Greer goes and does her own thing, and Jennifer Garner does her own thing. So she ends up working with Mark Ruffalo, who's a photographer, to like to like change the image of Poise, which is the magazine. But there's a lot of there's a lot of 80s nostalgia, because she's a big fan of like 80s music, because she was a kid in the 80s. And there's this whole scene where they dance to the whole song of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Like the whole song. They're at this party, and then like basically Jennifer Garner starts dancing to Thriller, and like everyone's just laughing at it, and then Mark Ruffalo joins, Like, she makes Mark Ruffalo join her. And then Annie Serkis and all that join as well.
And then everyone laughs harder at them.
But then, yeah, like suddenly everyone just starts dancing, and they actually dance to like the whole song.
I've actually heard about this Andy Serkis dancing to Thriller thing. Yeah.
He only joins at the end though, like, and he's not as good as the other guys at it. All that happens at the end is, so Mark Ruffalo is already engaged to some other girl. It starts to become typical romantic comedy towards the end, but basically Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo still have feelings for each other or something, and then...
But she's 13. This isn't right.
Yeah, he's 30 and she's 13.
She's 13. This is getting weird.
Yeah. Well, there's also this part where because in Jennifer Garner's apartment, there's this other girl who's actually 13. She's like a 13-year-old girl.
Is that Brie Larson?
No, Brie Larson's one of the 6 chicks, and she has no dialogues in the whole movie.
Oh, okay.
You hardly even see her.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know she was even in it until I looked up the IMDb page. But yeah, she's in it. There's this other girl that lives in her apartment that's actually 13, and she's like a high school kid. And there's this subplot where like Jennifer Garner and her become really good friends, and they have like sleepover parties.
Well, yeah, because she's 13.
Yeah. Yeah, and towards the end, what happens is Mark Ruffalo is about to get married, and then Jennifer Garner, like something happens. Like Judy Greer tells Mark Ruffalo that Jennifer Garner like doesn't want him or something, and he leaves, and he's about to get married, and then Jennifer Garner comes, and she's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, because you're 13." He pretty much says that. And then he gives her the dollhouse that she smashed when they were kids with the pixie dust on it. And she sits in front of his house and cries looking at the dollhouse. And then she wakes up and she's back to being 13 again.
But how does he make the same dollhouse? And
she smashed it, but then he remade it afterwards and kept it in his house for 30 years.
Abundance of pixie dust.
And it still has a pixie dust on it for some reason.
Where does he get the pixie dust from?
I don't know.
Is he a fairy?
He asked Doctor Strange for it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and she's 13 again.
Yeah, she wakes up and she wakes up in the closet again where she's 13. And then she kicks all the popular girls out of her house. And she's not friends with them anymore. And she's friends with Mark Ruffalo. They flash forward and they just show Jennifer Garner getting married to Mark Ruffalo, and that's the end of the movie.
Interesting.
That when I say they flash forward, they don't show anything that happens in between. They're like 13, and then they're getting married. But yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah, it sounds mildly creepy. But I'm glad Mark Ruffalo didn't marry her, because that would have been terrible.
But yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I'll give you my Infinity Stone rating. So it's got the soul. It doesn't have the power. It's got time because there's obviously time jumps.
Time travel.
It's got reality because it kind of talks about like growing up and forgetting your inner child and stuff. So I guess it's got a bit of reality on it. The mind, I guess, well, you can't really use your mind too much because it doesn't make much sense. But maybe half a mind stone, and it doesn't have space. So it's got the soul, it's got time, it's got half a mind, it's got reality, but it doesn't have space and power. So it's got
4 out of 6.
3.5.
Oh, you only gave it a half. 3.5 out of 6.
Yeah, I gave it half a mind, so 3.5 out of 6, which is pretty good for this movie.
Yeah,
it's a romantic comedy.
You wouldn't expect much more.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think if this movie came out now, it'd actually do pretty well because it's got a lot of this 80s nostalgia, which is a big thing at the moment.
Yeah, but now it's moving into 90s nostalgia for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it is. Did you see how they made like a 90s website for it?
Yeah, I did. It looks shit.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. But I think that was the point.
I think that was the point, though, yeah.
Well, yeah, that was our follow. We usually talk about a movie, like when there's a big Marvel movie or a DC movie coming up, we usually talk about a movie that's related to it the episode before. We have already talked about pretty much all the Marvel movies, so we couldn't talk about the Marvel movies. So we had to talk about something that had Brie Larson in it. So we probably could have picked another movie other than this, but
yeah. But this was the most relevant.
Yeah, this was the most relevant. Since it has all the other... It's got Claw and the Hulk and Ant-Man's ex in it. So...
Who are the most important characters in the MCU, as most people know.
And it's got Brie Larson in a non-speaking role.
Yeah.
So, the other movie I wanted to talk about, which I did see this week, I guess we're moving into this segment, which I like to call What We Have Done Since the Last Episode.
Yep.
And I watched a movie called A Dog's Way Home. You might have heard about it. It's about a dog that gets lost and finds its way home.
They didn't lie in the title.
Yeah. You might have seen, there's a previous movie in this, it's basically a franchise. So it's the dogverse, where dogs are the main characters of these movies. Before this, there was a Dog's Purpose, which was about a dog that's reborn. And so it's basically keeps its own conscious, but it's reborn as new dogs in each life. And in the first movie, it comes full circle. So the dog's first owner is also the owner that the dog has at the end of the movie. But in between it, the dog has multiple other owners as another dog, if it makes sense.
Yeah, so it has different owners in the middle, but then it comes back to the previous owner.
Yeah, and it remembers. And then the owner actually figures out that it's the same dog as well.
Okay, yeah.
The owner's Dennis Quaid. So Dennis Quaid had it when he was a kid, and then... They used to
in this movie or in A Dog's Purpose?
In A Dog's Purpose. But this movie is more of a spin-off of A Dog's Purpose, so it doesn't have the same dog in it. So the dog in this one is Bryce Dallas Howard.
You mean Bryce Dallas Howard acts as the dog? Like she's
the voice of the dog. Yeah.
No, she actually acts as the dog. She's on all fours for the whole movie. She runs around.
Yeah.
She barks and everything.
Yeah, she did motion capture for it, yeah.
No, it's not motion capture either. It's just her as a dog.
But yeah, it's basically about this pit bull that's born under a house or something where there's all these cats and dogs, like stray cats and stray dogs. She's picked up by this kid who adopts her, and then one day they have to make her leave the city because pit bulls are banned in this city that they live in. And they take her to this other house, and she's living there with these other owners, and she decides to go find the kid again. So she leaves the house, and the new owners live 600 kilometers away or something, somewhere really far from where the kid lives. The dog basically gets lost for 3 years and then finds a way home. And in between, she has different owners, and she meets this cougar. The cougar as a leopard, not... We had this conversation before, but it's not an old woman. It's an actual cougar, like a real cougar.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she makes friends with different creatures and stuff in between, and then she finally finds a way home after 3 years. And then there's a scene at the end where the police come to arrest them because they have a pit bull in this city, and the main kid's mother is part of the army, and she has all these army friends, and they're like, "No, we don't want you to take..." There's this whole standoff where they're like, "Oh, we don't want you to take it," and then the policeman at the end is just "Yeah, it's just a dog. Let's just leave it."
It sounds very confrontational.
And then it's the end, and then the dog's back at home. It found its way home. Just watch the trailer, and you basically watch the whole movie.
You've basically seen the movie.
Yeah. Because it shows you the whole movie. It literally shows you the end as well. So, yeah, you can either listen to this explanation or watch the trailer. Or if you really want, you can watch the movie.
Your explanation wasn't great, to be honest, so... Look... I would recommend probably watching the movie.
Yeah, and there's this segment of the movie where the dog is adopted by this homeless man, and then the homeless man chains the dog to him, basically, to his pants, and then the homeless man dies, and the dog is just sitting there for weeks, I think, waiting for someone to find them, and then someone finds them and let the dog go. And
where were they? Were they in some...
I think they were in some middle of some park or something where no one goes to. So there was no one there.
Yep.
But I guess I can give it my Infinity Stone rating. So this movie is basically banking on soul. So if it didn't have soul, it would completely fall flat. But
I think that's all it has.
Yeah, it's definitely got the soul stone. It doesn't have the power. Probably doesn't have reality, because to be honest, a dog couldn't do all the stuff that this dog does. It's friends with cats and stuff as well, because the dog's actual mum gets taken away, and for some time it lives with a cat and it calls the cat mum. So it probably isn't that realistic. It doesn't have space. It doesn't have power. It doesn't have reality. Mind, maybe half a mind stone.
Oh, that's generous by the sounds of it. But
yeah, it is generous.
No, you could give it half a mind.
Yeah, maybe just because there's parts of it that talk about like dog adoption and stuff like that, which I guess is kind of relevant and topical. So maybe half a mind stone, and obviously solid. I would only give it 1.5. Because, yeah, I can't really give it time either because apparently the movie goes for 3 years, but it doesn't feel like...
It doesn't feel like that.
The movie feels really long because there's not much happening for a lot of it too. I wouldn't give it the time stone. So probably 1.5 out of 6.
1.5 out of 6. Sounds like a solid movie.
Yeah, I definitely sold that, didn't I?
Yeah.
The Dog's Purpose is probably better than this one though, because... This one's basically mostly just about the dog. Like, the whole movie is basically just the dog. But the Dog's Purpose has more humans and stuff in it, so it's a little bit better. And I think there's a sequel coming out later this year to The Dog's Purpose called A Dog's Journey, I think. And that follows the same storyline as The Dog's Purpose. But it's about the guy... You can watch the trailer and you've probably watched the whole movie. Because these trailers just show you the whole thing. But it's about the guy's granddaughter and how the dog is meant to help the granddaughter.
Okay.
And yeah, like in that movie, I think the dog is reborn like multiple times as different dogs. And that one's got Josh Gad as the dog.
You seem very invested in this universe.
Yeah, it's obviously like the up and coming universe after Marvel. Okay, so we'll talk about some of the trailers that came out this week. 2 of them. So Dark Phoenix and Detective Pikachu. Did you watch the Detective Pikachu one?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Did you watch there was like a trailer to the trailer with Ryan Reynolds just talking about how he became Pikachu?
No, I didn't. That sounds funny though.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He's just talking about like how he kind of prepared for the role of Pikachu and how he like basically became Pikachu. And
yeah,
like apparently like he was, when he got the call to do the role, he was dropping his kids off at school or something, and then he just like left them because Pikachu doesn't have kids. So he just left. It's pretty funny, and his wife's in it too in that one. What's his wife's name? Blake Lively. Blake Lively's in it in that 1 minute. It's only like a 1 minute clip. It's pretty funny. It's probably better than the actual trailer.
Yeah.
But the actual trailer was also pretty good. It had Mewtwo in it.
It did, yeah. Still not sure what the story of this is, but...
Something about finding that guy's father.
Yeah.
And some sort of mystery behind that. And there's heaps of Pokemon.
Yeah, there is.
When they said it was Detective Pikachu, I thought it was mostly just going to be about Pikachu. There wouldn't be that many other Pokemon in it.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well, but it looks like there's lots of other Pokemon as well.
It's got Charizard in it.
Who looks like has a cage fight with Pikachu.
Wonder if Pikachu evolves into Raichu at any stage.
Probably not.
No, because then it would be Detective Raichu, and that just doesn't sound as good.
Yeah.
So that's coming out in May. It wasn't in my most anticipated list, but it's starting to look pretty good.
I think it was in mine, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah. Yeah, it didn't make mine, but I think it's probably would make mine now. It's coming out around the same time as Aladdin, and I think it's looking better than Aladdin, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Anything with Ryan Reynolds in it I love, so even these shit stuff.
Like Green Lantern.
Maybe not that, but...
Okay, and we'll talk about the other trailer, Dark Phoenix. So basically Mystique dies, I think.
It looks like it.
Well, it was actually confirmed by the director that Mystique dies.
Oh, okay. I don't know why they showed that in the trailer, but sure.
And apparently it happens pretty early in the movie as well. So I think their intention was to kind of be... You know how the Russo said that Thanos does something like pretty crazy in the first scene of Infinity War, which makes him like...
What, kills Loki?
Yeah, like they didn't say who he kills. They just said he does something pretty crazy in the first scene. So he like fights the Hulk and kills Loki. But they didn't obviously say that. These guys actually said that Mystique dies. And And Phoenix kills her.
I don't think Jennifer Lawrence wanted to be there, so I think they were forced into killing Mystique. It was just like, we have no choice here. It wasn't the plan, but yeah.
But obviously, I think this movie is actually going to come out. So it's going to happen.
It looks like just X-Men 3. It just looks the same.
Pretty much, yeah. But I think what happens is, because they also released a poster, and it's kind of like Civil War as well. So it has like two sides. So it's got Phoenix in the middle, and then it's got Magneto's side, and Charles's side. Except Beast is on Magneto's side.
But that's the same as X-Men 3, because they have that storyline how there's Magneto wants to kill all the humans or whatever, and I don't know, I haven't seen X-Men 3 in ages. But there's like a massive battle at the end. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. But Beast is still on Charles's side, right?
In X-Men 3.
Yeah. Is Beast even in this? Yes. He is, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But yeah, in this, it looks like Beast like switches sides or something, because they've set up this whole thing how he kind of has feelings for Mystique, and then probably Mystique dies. And
Mystique probably dies, and then he wants to kill Phoenix, and I can see where it's probably going.
Yeah, and there's that. I think there's a subplot of how Charles suppressed Jean's powers or something.
So he blames Charles for it, which is what happens in X-Men 3 as well.
Yeah, except Charles dies in the first scene of X-Men 3.
Yeah.
In this, they did Mystique instead. But this new X-Men series, like, they've made Mystique way too important of a character. Like, she's not meant to be that important.
She's like the main character.
She's pretty much, because in Days of Future Past, she's pretty much the main character. She's like the central character in that movie. Apocalypse as well, they make her like this hero, but she's not meant to be that important.
It's only because she's Jennifer Lawrence, they kind of have to use her.
Because in First Class, she wasn't that important. She was just there.
But she was Jennifer Lawrence, so...
I think, but that was before she was really that popular, First Class. And then she became really popular with Hunger Games and stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the X-Men franchise. Is the other one going to come out? New Mutants?
I assume so, in some way. Might be straight to streaming or something.
Yeah, or they might actually release it. There's been no trailers apart from the one that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, the first trailer. I think it will come out in some form.
Keep an eye out for that. But we've got the Who Am I, which I talked about earlier this episode. You said you knew who it was. Let's see if you did know who it was. I'll quickly go through the clues again just to refresh your memory. So, I'm a direct descendant of Genghis Khan and was born to a wealthy father who lost everything in a communist revolution. After finding a key to my powers in a crashed alien starship, I made plans to seize the world, only to clash often with my arch-nemesis, who's a key member of the Avengers. I developed teleportation technology, which I used to get myself out of trouble. I teamed up with various villains, including Enchantress, Executioner, and Living Laser. My first appearance in comics was in 1964, and I am 6 feet 2 inches tall and 215 pounds in weight. So who am I?
Is it Kang?
No, it is
not Kang.
It is not Kang.
I just thought it was Kang because it was his time travel.
Who's Kang's arch nemesis?
One of the event. I think it's Captain America. I don't know if that's his arch nemesis though.
So hopefully the listeners have figured it out, but this is the Mandarin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Iron Man's arch nemesis.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You tricked me with the time travel aspect.
No, I said teleportation, not time travel. So.
Oh shit, you said teleportation. I'm just not listening, man.
So no, it wasn't time travel. I left out, there was a clue about the rings. Because he finds, so in the alien starship, he finds the 10 rings, which allow him to basically get his powers. So once you get the rings, you'll get that it's Mandarin, because he's the only one with the rings in the Marvel Universe. And I also left out the part that he's born in China.
Yeah, I probably still would have guessed Kang, because I thought you said time travel. So.
Okay. Maybe one day I will do Kang for one of these, and let's see if you guess it that time.
Yeah, well, if you say time travel, then I will. No, say teleportation, and then I'll think it's time travel.
Okay. So I guess that's it for this episode. So if people want to contact us, how do they go about it?
So we at C Recalibration on Twitter, Cognitive Recalibration Podcast @gmail.com and at cognitive recalibration at Facebook and what's the other one? Instagram.
And you can find us on any of the podcasting platforms available. And if you do enjoy our content, please do give us a subscribe on your podcast service, and also like our Facebook page. So that's becoming a lot more active these days. We've got all our updates are going to be through our Facebook page now. So do give us a like on the Facebook page, so you can keep up to date with our latest episodes and whatever else we may be up to. May have some events coming up later this year as well, so those will also be posted on the Facebook page. Okay, that's it. That's the show.
That's it.
So we'll see you guys next week for Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
First Marvel movie of this year. First of the 3.
Yeah, first since Ant-Man.
Yeah, it's been a while actually since we've talked about Marvel. So we'll see what happens. Till then, see you in the next episode of Cognitive Recalibration.